must say, I've been in their homes in Kaduna. They've been in my home in Antwerp. But the last time they were here, it was snowing, and now we are happy to welcome you with some sunshine too. Imam Ashafa is living in Kaduna, and he has this beautiful history of being a former enemy of the pastor James, but then they became friends, and now they're working since many years for reconciliation and peace, not only in Kaduna, but in the whole of Nigeria and in other parts of Africa. To you the floor.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Distinguished brothers and sisters, I greet each with a greeting of peace by saying, may peace be upon you all. Today is another milestone in our own journey as a nation, and mine as a Nigerian, looking at the importance attached to this, by specifically putting my country, Nigeria, looking for what is the existing way. How do we get out of this tunnel? And I feel it's very, very important. At the same time, the coincidence that my nation, Nigeria, is just 100 years old. We just celebrate 100 years of Nigeria as a nation. And if we are coming back into this, unfortunately, he just given us 10 minutes to talk. I want to just go into the key issue. I'm very happy some of the issues I want to raise have been raised by my colleagues and the elder brothers here. The key important element is Nigeria as a nation from 1914, when the amalgamation of the North and the Southern Protectorate took place by the British colonial authority. Then, it was a Nigerian that is quite different from the composition and the complex we find ourselves today, perhaps due to so many factors. But if we look at the conflict progression, progression of violence, conflict in Nigeria of today, why is it that Muslim and Christian that have lived so happily together suddenly turn into one another's enemy? The important thing begins from 1978, 79, after the Iranian revolutions, and the impact of the Iranian revolutions on the life of many Nigerian Muslim youths who are looking for alternative to the failing of a modern state to meet their desired needs of basic necessity of life, aspirations to be what they want to be. And I think from that moment, in 1978, 79 specifically, they have become the first limelight of what we see today as a real conflict situations within the two communities. However, if you go back a little before then, we will say the first conflict Nigerian experienced violence was in the Second World War, when Nigerians were drafted into what became the West African Frontier Force that played a major role in the Second World War. So the First World War, Nigerians was there, but most of us, the military, have not participated effectively in the war until the second one, where they many Nigerians participated actively in the global war, and those violence were brought back home. And we could see from that 1944-45, after the Second World War, the consequences and what metamorphosed into the Nigerian Civil War as the second major violence that played a role from 1967 to 1970 in the history of our nation. From that moment, the tone of violence started taking dimensions from 1967, 1970, when we go into that 3 years of civil war, where over 1 million people lost their lives. From that, in 1979, began the modern situation. I'm talking about the influence of Iranian Revolution on either Islamization or evangelization of Nigeria as a nation state. This is where religious dimension comes very strong into it. Either Islamization or evangelization of the Nigerian nations. And from that particular moment, conflict started evolving itself in our academic institutions, within youths. First in ABU Zaria, second in 1987 in Kafanchan, which is southern part of Kaduna. Then 1991, the first just crisis, where my Archbishop here is overseeing non-spiritually. And you go back to 1992 Zangon Kataf, the consequence of which classes as youth were all part of it. My colleague lost his arm in that conflict, and I lost my spiritual teacher and very close associate. We are becoming part of that. And the major violence again, from 1992, it was just small here and there until the year 2000, when the unfortunate, the search for Sharia, which are called the political Sharia, came into place, and the consequence of that, over 3,000 people lost their lives in the city of Kaduna and around. And that became the violent bloodshed. And then September 7, 2001, before September 11, in Jos, the second important bloodshed, massive bloodshed, happened within peace-loving people in Jos, in Plateau State and its environs. And that's what spread onto the constituency of my Royal Majesty here, where they pay, his constituency pay a big price on issues of pastorally farmer that end up being Muslim-Christian conflict, and so many have been lost in their lives, and his community, it has been very, very devastating. I think it's the community that suffer most in Plateau State as a Muslim community happened to be his own community specifically. Then, and that takes us after the Sharia to Miss World in 2002, Miss World Beauty Pageant. In 2002, it was just the beauty of Miss World and Miss World game. Nigeria ended up losing over 200 souls within 24 hours. And that violence continued until 2007, when the Muhammad Yusuf becoming clearly taking his own hold on his own community. He's a pacifist. We don't go deep into that ideological framework which they come from. Thank you, Professor, had decisively trying to put those things within the context. And from that particular moment, Muhammad Yusuf from 2007, then 2009, when they become more wild, and 2010, specifically, when everything went out of hand. That thing is happening in the south, in the northeast, but not as stronger as it is now. Until when the presidential election happened in 2011, the result of presidential election in April 2011 become another milestone where massive bloodshed threatening the north-south peaceful dichotomy, religious dichotomy come to play within the peaceful, loving Muslim-Christian relationship. After the Sharia, it was that hit the whole north as a nation, and then southern reprisal attacks was almost looming its ways. Before our senior religious leaders, including my spiritual father here, our cardinal, have to take a course to say, no, this thing must not happen, and they raise their voice. Distinguished brothers and sisters, from 2012 to today, reverse is the case. It's the bloodiest of what we have witnessed under the Nigerian nations. And when you look at that phenomenon, which is also happening today, which consequences were suicide bombing of two important phenomena, one from the Boko Haram and other suicide bombing from unknown forces. And one particularly important, the two bombing in Abuja, the first suicide bombing in Abuja, or the bombing, not the suicide bombing, that happened, which was claimed Mossop or not Mossop, who is not involved, and the court is still ongoing from the southern part. And then the second one and the third one, which specifically the suicide bombing, the Boko Haram claim responsibility for attack, and so many one that follows into Abuja city. But the first bombing in Abuja was done by the either you call it the Niger Delta militant or the Mossop in search of liberation of the Biafra or the Southern Protectorate. Whatever it is, there have been a lot of massive maiming and killing in the country that is it can be quantifiable, because now we are no more talking about 1, 2, 3. We talk of 100 people are dead. We talk of 100 people are taken away, and nobody knows where they are taken to. We talk of sanctuaries where human life, human bodies were mutilated. These are the situations where we are working. But the question is, what are the challenges of, what are the sustaining factor for this violent situation? I look at 5 important elements as sustaining factor for the violence in our society. Number 1, the paradigm of if you want peace, prepare for war. If you want peace, prepare for war. That paradigm has made so many communities to go into buying arms, and proliferation of arms become the order of the day in our own communities. People start buying arms left and right, and the government are not helping issues. Almost 1/4 of our national budget are put on buying arms. Now we are going for a loan of $1 billion in order to buy arms to fight the insurgency. This shows that everybody is just buying, because the government buy arms, everybody go to buy arms to protect themselves. So if you want peace, prepare for war. That paradigm is hitting, although it's losing every day, and nowhere in the world where war has win war and have sustainable peace. I've not seen one. I hope I'm going to learn from others here. The second phenomenon is the friend of my enemy is my enemy. Drawing a line between people who have a desire, who has a pain or a vengeance, and they are fighting with the other party, instead of getting through other friends of theirs to find a way to resolve the dispute, we draw a line that the friend of my enemy become my enemy. So you must, and that gave birth to the second paradigm of no talking, no dialogue, no negotiation with the enemy. And I remember one most important element, an American president was saying, the best way to conquer the enemy is to turn him into a friend. You can always, and today myself and James, we are the worst of enemies. We are looking for our lives because we believe then the best way to resolve the issue in our community is to kill. When his hand was chopped, I was smiling. But when I learned he woke up, I was not happy. I was crying. He needs to die. He cannot survive with that hand. It's not enough. But when we learn the item from the Quranic perspectives, when Allah told me in the Quran that the best way I can win the enemy is to turn him into a friend. This is a Quranic verse. No Muslims, no matter his opinion, will reject to say that verse is not true. Idfa billati sayyi'ati wal hasana. Turn the evil with that which is good. If evil is turned to you, do that which is better, and the better is good. Today we are the best of friends with him. So that paradigm of no talking, no negotiation has worsened the situation in Nigeria of today. We have access, we have opportunity to talk with these boys, to bring them to the dialogue table. They agree. But the others feeling the best way with the power of might, with hand fix, we can make it not a handshake. And the worst situation is where we find ourselves today. The fourth is the culture of vengeance and glorifying war. The culture of vengeance and glorifying war. Most of our children, they have been watching all this Hollywood, Nollywood, Bollywood, the use of arms, and they feel the best way is just shoot the other guys. You can get him by war. They glorify wars. Most of our family level, community level, when we glorify war, our children want to be local champion. So they take up the vengeance. They recreate history of the past injustices, and they want to revenge because they have arms. Distinguished brothers, the last but not the least is proselytization, an insightful sermon or preaching by our religious actors. What are the consequences of this proselytization and incitement to hate? Distinguished brothers, I bring about 7 important elements as a consequence of this action. Consequence number 1 is hijacking of our religious value for negative solidarity. Negative solidarity, he is only my brother and the other is not mine. As long as you are not a Muslim, you are not part of me. As long as you are not a Christian, you are not part of me. These are negative solidarity that is implanted deep in the heart of our people. Number 2, massive kidnapping of girls and women. Before the Chibok girls were kidnapped, over thousands of women have been kidnapped in various communities. Professor will attest to that. These are Muslim women, children taken away. And you could not believe it. Every home will tell you our daughter is gone. The young man will tell you my wife is stolen away. How? What are we doing? This is the consequence of not talking, no dialogue. Distinguished brothers and sisters, the third one is segregation of communities along ethno-religious divide. In our community today in Kaduna, we are sharply divided. We have been working hard to move people across the line as it used to be. Is becoming difficult. In Plateau State, my Archbishop, my Emir will confirm segregative community along ethno-religious divide. It's another consequences. Number 4, politicization of religion and religionization of the political process. Religionization of the political process is taking place. Today, our politicians are dividing the 2 major parties in Nigeria along religious line. They will tell you this party is Christian party, that party is a Muslim party. This is a dangerous sign we are witnessing today because people want to hear that. Number 5, threat to national existence of Nigeria. And these are 4 important elements we can see as a threat. Number 1, the Boko Haram, which is known as Jama'atu al-Sunnah li-Da'awati wal-Jihad. Jama'atu al-Sunnah li-Da'awati. I don't know anything Sunnah in what they do. Li-Da'awati wal-Jihad, the Boko Haram. Number 2, MASOB, which is Movement for Actualization of Biafra. Number 3, Niger Delta Militant Liberation Front. Niger Delta Liberation Front is a Niger Delta militant wing that is fighting the oil companies and others about how they destabilize their land and thinking that we need to access from Nigeria so that we can control our oil resources. And number 4 is the OPC, Odua People Congress, that fight during the days when MQ Abiola lost his political ticket of presidency of Nigeria. Distinguished brothers and sisters, when you look into this, and then number 6, IDPs, internally displaced person. Today, Nigerians have the largest internally displaced person on the continent of Africa. 3 million, over 3 million Nigerians were internally displaced, according to the National Bureau for Statistics. 3 million, over 3 million Nigerians are internally displaced. Number 7, proliferation of arms and barbaric maiming and killing of innocent people. And I add one, there's low military morale. Our soldiers have low military. There's act of mutiny. Soldiers are running away. Why? This is we don't have sufficient arms. And we know billions of dollars are coming out of our national resources investing into security and security. That shows that clearly war is not the answer. What have we done as an interfaith initiatives? What have we done for interfaith initiatives? In summary, we have done so many in terms of developing pedagogy, because we believe only by dialogue, by the culture, promoting the culture of dialogue and coexistence. Talking is the only way we can put our nation together and we can resolve our dispute. Number 1, we have developed about 16 different modules of pedagogy of peace for engaging at various levels, community level, women level, youth level, in schools, both public and private schools, either seminarians or in madrasa. These are tools that we have developed in the last 20 years of our existence working with these directives. Not only that enough, who are our target beneficiaries? Of course, we are working with religious leaders and traditional institutions. Religious and traditional institutions, they have the hold on the heart of our community as a whole. And that tells you how far we've gone. And our collaborating partners are very important. So many government, in the state government, the federal government, and other development agencies have been part of our own important way. And this look at the issue of Sant'Egidio and Usha, one of our key important, our partners, Sant'Egidio community, the initiative of change in Switzerland, and of today, KAICID, which is Ken Abdulaziz International Center for Interreligious and Intercultural Dialogue, among others. Of course, Justice, Development and Peace Commission of the Catholic Faith will not be forgotten on this. The way forward, let me just go back to the way forward, so I'll forget about the success stories we have. When we talk of the way forward, it seems there is no light at the end of the tunnel. However, as a peacemaker, with 20 years experience, I see hope and light at the end of the tunnel for Nigeria. Because I see mainstream senior religious leaders saying no to hijack of our religious values. And we saw initiatives such as Interfaith Peace Initiative by the Sultan and our Honorable Cardinal Nayakan, who have taken course in initiating such initiative on their own individual level to say, these are contributions for our motherland. I see youth in the guise of civilian JTF in Borno State confronting Boko Haram, armed with no weapons but sticks in their hand, saying no to extremism and fanaticism in the face of Boko Haram forced recruitment of youth. I see women speaking out as mothers of peace, echoing their voices on reconciliation in the face of few women who are carriers of weapons for the insurgent. Today, women are being used, carrying weapons across the line, across the red line, for the insurgent. They are spies, women become spies, they become etc., carrying weapons for them, backing women in their back, but other women say no to this. Distinguished brothers, majority of our traditional leaders and institutions say no to violence in the face of ethnic chauvinism that live in their midst. We saw the support and solidarity of international community such as this that give us, yes, we have hope in the future that we all shall be proud of to say Nigeria. I therefore appeal to this audience for one moment of silence. I appeal for one moment of silence to the soul of those religious leaders, Muslim and Christian, who have raised their voice to say no. Because when we start raising our voice, people are being killed. They've come to my house for me. They couldn't get me at home. Many are not fortunate. Many are being killed. And many voices as snipers are killing silently. We need to raise our voice in silence for the soul of those who are being killed. Many Muslims, many Christian religious leaders who say no to Boko Haram have eliminated their lives. And we need to remember in prayers our women and children of Chibok, the Chibok girls. We carry out interfaith psychosocial therapy for 57 of the 276 girls who have escaped. 57 of them, we carry them on interfaith psychosocial therapy. We are the first to do that, to meet with these girls and their parents. And remaining 219 school girls who are yet to be released in different hands of the insurgent groups. So we need your prayers for them, that may the Lord keep their spirit high, keep them healthy, and return them back to their families. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Imam Ashafa, for your inspiring words and words of peace. And also your life has been a testimony, a witness of this peace work, with a lot of results. Thank you very much.